Alright everyone, there's an article, link in the description, archived of course. It asks a rhetorical question, and it's very rhetorical. Is the legacy media going to learn its lesson? Now that Donald Trump won the election, all of their efforts were in vain. All of the defamation, which he's suing over with the Des Moines Register right now, with regards to the Seltzer poll actually, etc. Well, they finally realize and have the self-reflection to say, look, we need to change things up. The answer is quite easy. No, they do not have that level of self-reflection. There are several reasons for this. Number one, the legacy media post-Obama has become effectively nothing more than a tool of the uniparty. That's problem number one. So there's no political reason why they would change things up. They're going to continue to harass and defame and abuse and try to get people censored and stuff like that, especially if they happen to be fans of populism or libertarianism. That's number one. Number two, what economic reason would there be for it? They get paid regardless. The ad revenue just ain't going to generate it at this point. They're getting probably more government than ad revenue at this point. Some of these people who, in some cases, write columns and stuff like that are literally paid shills. Why, therefore, since they're not interested in conducting journalism at all, would they change things up? Their bias will remain. That is a guarantee. There is a 100% chance. This isn't even a goddamn prediction. It's just an objective truth. They are going to remain biased. This is, by the way, not abnormal within the press. Whether you have a free press or a state-run press or some sort of mixed model like China does, it doesn't really matter. You're always going to end up with bias. We've had a biased press since before any of us were born. Have you ever heard of muckraking or the Gilded Era, for example? This has been going on for a long time. Even if you have a completely free press, a literally free press, so there is no state-run function, there's no censorship, anything like that at all, there will still be ingrained bias. You can see political cartoons from the Revolutionary period depicting politicians. Are any of them really even-handed? No, of course not. That's not the point. The person who runs the company, assuming that it's a fully private, literal printing press back in the 19th century or something, has every reason to try to support the politicians they like and or are in cahoots with, and to attack those that they're not. Literally, people would go around breaking one another's printing presses back in that era. That doesn't tend to happen now, but back in the day it was definitely a thing. History is fascinating. There's never been an unbiased press anyway. But when you have a unique character like Donald Trump, who is uniquely hated specifically because he fucking despises the entire system in the way that it's running, and if that system is working generally for corporations which tend to control what we refer to as the press, then there would be a reason for them to attack him. His presidency is going to get the same lopsided coverage that it got for its first years, and to the exclusion of any admission that he ever does anything right. I remember the only one time in which the press was generally positive about Donald Trump was with the Abraham Accords. That was pretty much the only example where they actually gave him a golf clap. And even then it was a rather muted one now, wasn't it? Some of them just didn't cover the goddamn story. They couldn't bring themselves to applaud him for something that is objectively a good idea and that the public massively and overwhelmingly supported. They wouldn't even praise him for that. Instead, they would nitpick about... Right now, for example, what's the legacy media talking about with regards to Trump? His hairstyle looks weird. He got a haircut. That's front page news right now. Yeah, their bias really has gone away. I'm sure that they've learned their lesson. Also, they realize Trump can't run again, so there's no reason for them to hold back any more than there's a reason for him to hold back. The bias is extremely self-evident, and it is utterly overwhelming. Part of it is because the media is an offshoot of the uniparty. These people wine and dine with one another. Donald Trump got positive press coverage before he got into politics. They would chuckle about Atlantic City, with his casinos. That didn't really pan out. Or maybe Trump steaks or something. But generally, he was a bit of a media darling. Like Stern had him on over and over. He's part of the legacy media, I suppose, at this point, or at least missing link media. He was giving interviews and stuff right after 9/11. Everyone wanted to fucking shake his hand and talk to him, and so on and so on forth. Before he got into elected politics, they really, really liked Donald Trump. Thought he was this great guy. He's philanthropic and, he's intelligent and skilled and all of these things. And, self-made billionaire. And they praised him. They applauded him over and over again. The second that he seriously ran for office, all of a sudden it was a freak show. All of a sudden now he's a Nazi. And that's because they didn't want him getting into elected politics. Because he actually intended to follow through with his word. I think that he bamboozled them. I think that he literally conned all of these people. They loved him until, the last few years. All of a sudden, again, now he's, well, according to one legacy media account, Hitler, Mussolini, and Stalin all rolled up into one. Yeah, they went he's beyond Hitler. Now he's basically a hydra of evil or something like that. Their bias isn't going to go away. You know it. I know it. Everyone knows it. The legacy media certainly knows it. They're already starting in on him. His cabinet picks are extreme. There's going to be no women running congressional committees for the first time in 20 years. Clearly that's Trump's fault because, he runs Congress too. He's, again, the many-headed hydra. The fact is that Donald Trump is never going to get positive press coverage. Occasionally from Fox, he'll get applauded here and there. Other than that, the legacy media is dedicated to trying to stop him from doing literally anything. Because it's simply, think of the legacy press effectively as a compartment of the U.S. government. It's effectively a bureau at this point. Most of these news organizations are directly tied to people that are in the Uniparty. And, if they'd say, well, we've got these 200 people in Congress that are unipartyists, that we agree with ideologically, generally neocons and neolibs and stuff, or this much smaller proportion that are populistic plus Trump, we need to get hard-hitting interviews and we need to get people on to talk about, what's going on in the political world and stuff. Well, 200 is better than 24 now, isn't it? And Trump just doesn't cut it. We don't want him on the network at all. We don't want to give him the airplay because then the CIA money will dry up or something like that. That's literally how it's operating right now. The Uniparty and the Deep State are trying everything that they can do to stop Donald Trump's agenda. So their bias will remain. It is absolutely, objectively a truth. That's about all. Peace out.